Do you know exactly what your family would do if an attack came?
Greetings from the Second Age of Reason. We're here by the lake today, and I'm just going to talk about a topic or something. And what just occurred to me about a show that I used to love to watch back in the 1990s or early 2000s. It was called Battlebox. In this show, amateurs would build robots, and they would go into a ring and fight it out. And as time went by, they added obstacles and other features. And it was always fun to see how some robots would have wheels, and some would have tracks, some would have legs, some would just kind of writhe around like a snake. Very creative modes of motion. Then there was modes of weapons. Some had hammers, some had spears, some had flippers that would flip the other one upside down. Some spun around with like blades or something on it that would just chop the other robot to pieces. I remember a young girl had come up with a robot called Tentamushi. It was like a little ladybug, and then the shell would open up and a circular saw would come out and do some damage. Very creative. Of course, there were other robot fighting shows, such as Robotica, which is mostly an obstacle course. Different obstacles would impede different robots depending on what their method of motion was. Then there was Robot Wars, where they would put the robots into a ring, but if things got boring, they added a house robot with a name like Sergeant Bash or Sir Kill-A-Lot. We come out there and blast the other one to smithereens, either with a hammer or a blowtorch or something. And I thought, my goodness, if the military sees this, they might decide that we could use these out in the field for various purposes. So I thought about that, and now I hear they have things called drones, which are remote control flying robots that go over areas. Some of them are reconnaissance, and some of them are more active.
Build a robots. Build a robots. Build a robots.
I just thought for a while there, and I thought, interesting. I didn't give it much more thought after that, except now I did. And I was thinking, in the world, we have not that many soldiers. As a part of the population, soldiers are just a small percentage of the population. And I thought, you can't really have a military police state given the amount of people and the number of soldiers. You have to have something much bigger in place if you really wanted to do that. But when I saw these drones, it occurred to me that it's like you don't have to have so many soldiers then. You could have these drones handled remotely, and if they get shot down, well, you're not out any of your own soldiers. It's just a piece of hardware. You can replace it. And the part that gets me, though, is I thought, well, eventually maybe there won't be a person on the remote end running the robot or the drone. Maybe at some point they'll program it to look for certain patterns, to look for certain things to go after. So you won't even have humans behind the remote anymore. You'll have an algorithm deciding who to keep and who to toss. And if you multiply that by millions or billions of these things in the sky, or rolling down the streets, however they implement. I'm just saying, it's a dangerous precedent. We've already seen them in action and know what they can do. So I thought I would just mention that and encourage you to comment below about your ideas about, okay, so we only have, 500,000 soldiers, but you could have 10 million or 100 million of these drones, and eventually they'll be flown by a program in a giant computer someplace, looking for a telltale pattern of some kind to whether it's found its prey or not.
In a future time.
Just putting that out there for you. So until later, we'll be seeing you.
Here comes a robot with electric brains. Here comes a robot with electric brains. Here comes a robot with electric brains.